So the book is not a memoir, and we can talk about that.
But that happened to you.
But that happened to me.
I love hot dogs. This year, 4th of July was on a Thursday, and I ate hot dogs Sunday after.
Really? Not competitively?
No, just for the love of the game, I guess.
That's the beauty of, I think, songwriting as well, where you can talk about something, but, maybe romanticize it a bit.
Hey all, what's going on? Thanks for checking out Chicago Humanities Tapes, the audio extension of the live Chicago Humanities Spring and Fall Festivals. I'm your humble podcast producer and host, Elisa Rosenthal, and today we're bringing you a special episode, a collaboration with Chicago's long-running live talk show, The Interview Show. Host and friend of the fest, Mark Bazer, has been bringing his love of producing and interviewing to audiences for over a decade, with events at beloved Chicagoland haunts The Hideout and Fitzgerald's, and a syndicated TV run on WTTW. In partnership with Chicago Humanities, The Interview Show tonight brings you a great chat with filmmaker, actor, and author Edward Burns of the Brothers McMullen, She's the One, Saving Private Ryan, and not to mention The Holiday and 27 Dresses. Plus, professional hot dog eating champ Patrick Bertoletti, and music from Elizabeth Moen. For upcoming interview show events, head to theinterviewshowchicago.com, and for more information on Chicago Humanities, you can always find us at chicagohumanities.org. So, grab a pint, set some moody bar lighting, and settle into Berwyn's premier bar, Fitzgerald's. Mark, take it away.
Woo. How's everyone doing? Yeah? Good. Hey, welcome to The Interview Show. My name is Mark Bazer, and we've got just a great show tonight. We've got the writer, director, actor Ed Burns is with us tonight. He's got a new novel out. It's delightful. It's called A Kid from Marlboro Road. It's delightful. I loved it. We have a musician, one of my favorite musicians anywhere. We're lucky that she calls Chicago home. She's playing with her band. Elizabeth Moen is here tonight. And we also have the national hot dog eating champion, men's division, Patrick Bertoletti. That's right. But before I begin, I do want to thank the Chicago Humanities for partnering with us and making this night possible. So give it up for the Chicago Humanities. For those of you who don't know, Chicago Humanities is just this great organization that brings in all these wonderful artists and writers into Chicago. And I also want to say that I am super proud of myself for getting the national hot dog eating champion classified as the humanities. Yeah. Only in Chicago. Only in Chicago is the hot dog considered one of the humanities. And that's why we choose to live here. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Got a great show. My first guest is a writer, director, actor who burst onto the scene with the Brothers McMullen, which upon viewing it when it came out, yeah, I had that reaction too. It was like instantly spoke to me. It spoke to a lot of people. It won the Grand Jury Award at Sundance. I showed it to my 19-year-old son the other day, and he was like, that's one of my favorite movies now too. So I am, now he's got a novel out. He's got a novel, it's called A Kid from Marlboro Road. It is delightful. Of course, you also know him from such movies as She's the One, Sidewalks of New York. A recent favorite of mine is called Summer Days, Summer Nights. The TV shows Bridge and Tunnel and Public Morals. He's also been in such films as 15 Minutes, 27 Dresses, and of course, Saving Private Ryan. The book is we'll get into it in the conversation, it's a semi-autobiographical story and a snapshot in time of a 12-year-old boy coming to some new understandings about where he comes from, the compromises that a family makes, and where he may be heading. I'm thrilled to have him here. Please welcome Ed Burns. Thank you. How you doing? Cheers.
Doing
yeah, man.
Yeah, cheers, man. How's it going? Steve,
I'm good.
Thank you for the pint, wherever you are.
Yeah. People are just buying Ed Guinness.
Yep.
Which he wants.
Yeah, of course.
How you
Who
doing?
doesn't?
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
Yeah, thanks for writing this book. I want to start with, and we'll get into what the book's about, but it's called A Kid from Marlboro Road. Your production company is called Marlboro Road Gang Productions. Take me there. Take us to Marlboro Road. What is it, and why does it have such a hold on you?
All right, so it's the block that I grew up on in a town called Valley Stream on Long Island, South Shore, Long Island. Very working class community. It's also the house that I shot Brothers McMullen in, the house that's on the cover of the book. The reason I called my production company the Marlboro Road Gang Productions, and it's kind of connected to the book. You know, in the 70s in my neighborhood, there were a lot of gangs. And the guy who lived next door to me was in a gang called the Falcons, and they had a big rumble against the guys from the north side of Valley
And they
Stream.
called it a rumble.
It was
like
legit.
in the Outsiders.
They met in the park with bats, and guys got fucked up. Yeah, it was.
That's
it was
amazing.
Like, it was the 70s in New York.
Yeah.
I'm sure in Chicago the same stuff was going on.
we rumbled.
So, but
I didn't.
At the time, I'm in the 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah.
So me and my friends who live on the block, we formed our gang, the Marlboro Road Gang.
Ah.
Needless to say, we didn't have any rumbles. All right. So when I needed
You just
a name,
made independent films.
not then.
Yeah, right.
Then when it was time to come up with a production company name, I was like, that sounded pretty cool, and it was like a way to give a nod to my neighborhood and to the block.
So in the book, it's a boy. He's 12. It takes place over the course of a summer.
Yep.
And he's about to turn 13. He actually turns 13, I think, at the very end of the summer. And he's in an interesting place, which a lot of people at that age are, where they're trying to they're becoming more aware of the dynamics around them. They're becoming aware of what's going on in their family, problems in their family. They're also becoming aware that they're growing up. And this boy kind of doesn't want to grow up. He wishes almost that he couldn't, and of course, he knows that's not possible. Talk about just when you were thinking about this character, like why did you set it at that particular kind of precipice of life? It's a coming of age book about a kid who doesn't necessarily want to come of age.
Yeah. Like with any screenplay, the novel kind of came from a bunch of different places. I'll answer that question, and then I can get into kind of where the kind of the bigger idea.
The question you
came.
wanted to answer.
Yeah.
No, just,
No, but for me as a parent, as my kids were getting older and they were sort of breaking up with us, if you will, as they hit their teenage years. My daughter's now 20, soon to be 21. My son is 18. So when he was around 12 or 13, my wife and I could start to feel kind of like the kid in the book. He was taking that big step towards independence. And as parents, that's kind of heartbreaking, but you also recognize it needs to happen. So that was going on in my life as a parent at about the time I started to think about writing what I thought was going to be a screenplay. And it's funny, I thought the screenplay was going to be called the Marlboro Road Gang, because I thought the screenplay I wanted to write at that time was going to be my, when I'm in film school, Truffaut's 400 Blows was one of the films I saw that said, okay, I want to make movies like that.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about making that coming of age film for a long time. Anyhow, skipping to it, never got to it. COVID hits. I think I'm going to write the script. My producing partner says, I don't know when we're going to be able to get back on set due to social distancing. And a notion kind of came into my head. I in high school, early college, I thought about being a novelist. I thought maybe this is the time. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to write one book, and then because of a number of things going on, it turned into this kid who is the last mama's boy on his block, who makes a deal that by the end of the summer, he's going to break up with his mother. All right? But
he's so sweet, he can't do it.
Yeah. He can't do it.
He can't do it
because he recognized, he doesn't understand what depression is, doesn't know what it is.
His mom's depressed.
But his
older brother's an asshole.
Yeah. His parents they appear to be headed for divorce.
Which you don't do if you're Irish Catholic.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're not. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's in the back of his mind. I wanted one thing that's I think honestly my favorite part of the book is the way the character. Obviously, you're an adult writing this character, but the character has this innocence that he also, because he's self-consciously writing a book. He's writing, and he's very clear that he assumes that you, the reader, don't know any more than he knows. I'm going to quote one example that I absolutely love. Don't get embarrassed. All right, so this is a scene where the dad, who's a New York cop, to teach the older brother a lesson, puts them both in jail.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I should say, so the book is not a memoir, and we can talk about that.
Yeah. But that happened to you.
But that happened to me.
Okay, but he wants to teach the older brother a lesson. The younger kid's got to go along too. And this is the kid, obviously it's from the kid's perspective, but it's you writing. Anyway, there weren't any murderers or killers in the jail that day. Just a couple of hookers, which if you don't know, are ladies who wear almost no clothes, even in the middle of winter. Which is exactly what an innocent mama's 12-year-old boy would say. Yeah. And I love that part of
Awesome, cool.
The other thing I love, and I would love for you to talk about, is just the details and whether it's from your own life or not. For example, and it becomes pivotal actually, but the boy really notices the maple tree outside of his bedroom. Yeah. And I think anybody who grew up in a room, which I think most of us grew up in a room,
with a window.
With a window, right, unless you're in a closet. You kind of just have these things that you don't notice as an adult. Like I have no idea what's outside of my window now. I'm so in my mind. But when
kids today probably don't, given that they're on their phones.
Oh fuck!
Right? Like that was the phone, looking out the fucking window at the kids on the corner.
That was
and the maple
phone.
Tree.
What a boring phone.
Yeah.
But so talk about the details. Whether it was from your own life or not, just how you made the kids so observant.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody else is like this, but I'm 56 now, and I cannot remember where I was this morning. But the details of my childhood, I can in my mind open up a drawer in the kitchen and remember exactly how things were laid out.
For sure.
So I think I was always that kind of kid, I think the old man even says to him at one point, "How do you remember all these details?" When he reads a passage from the book. Yeah.
That's right.
That's just who I was, which is probably why I ended up doing what I do for a living, right? I just kind of was always a pretty observant kid. And I can't really say why or how. The maple tree, that is a true story. He writes the poem about the tree. And that happened to me. I had to do an assignment for school. I went to a Catholic school, so we had to do a poem about Jesus. So I wrote this poem about how the maple tree was like Jesus, all right? Because you got to figure out something when you got to do a poem about Jesus.
Is that a typical Catholic school? I'm not Catholic.
Yeah.
That you write poems about Jesus?
So then
do you do math problems about Jesus?
Probably. Yeah. So there were 12 apostles, and there's... but anyhow, I hand it in, and I don't think anything's gonna, it's a writing assignment, and then I get called down to the principal's office. Yeah. So if you got called down to Sister Paul Francis, you assume something terrible was gonna happen. And instead, she says, "I want to talk to you about the poem." So now I'm really nervous, because maybe you shouldn't compare Jesus to a maple tree. And she says, "We had no idea that you were in such concert with the Lord." Whatever that meant. And we'd like to submit the poem to the Catholic Daughters of America Poetry Contest. Who knew that there was such a thing?
Yeah.
So to make matters worse, I win first place in Nassau County on Long Island.
What did the Marlboro gang say?
Yeah, well, I'll get to that. So a couple of terrible things happened. A, I get a trophy that's bigger than any of my basketball trophies. All right, so that goes into the closet so that the Marlboro Road gang can't see it. Then, if, again, 1970s, working class, Catholic school, if you are reading poetry, writing poetry, or winning poetry contests, you're going to get your ass handed to you in the hallway at school.
You got a rumble waiting for you.
Yeah. It was a one-sided rumble. It was basically the 8th graders putting you in headlocks, giving you dead legs, purple nurples, and doing all that.
The 70s.
But the good thing that came from it was my old man, who, like I said, New York City cop. He says, "That's it. I don't care what you say. You're never taking the cop test. You are going to be a writer." So the opposite of what in the movie version the working class dad would be, "No, you need the job with the benefits."
Yeah.
He was the opposite, and that sort of started me on my journey writing. You know,
And we'll get to that later, but
Yeah.
he did all that.
Yeah.
Like he was the one that helped put up the
Yep.
money, and yeah, that's not what I would do as a father. And I think you touched on it just a second ago, but could you have written this book when you were 35? Could you have written this book when you were this kid's age? Like, what are you bringing to the book that you kind of understand about? Because there is, I think you've got a line in there, I think the dad says it actually, that the Irish are no good at happiness. Or
we have no gift. We have no gift for happiness.
Yeah. And so there is this kind of like sadness that runs through the book.
Yeah.
Was that kind of obviously true to your experience, true to growing up, the people around you?
It's true to this day.
Yeah.
I just think, it's like in the last chapter of the book, he's trying to figure out like what this summer was. You know, is he melancholy? Is it bittersweet? And I've heard my whole life, that the Irish and my mom have no gift for happiness, right? And that doesn't mean you're sad all the time, but you're constantly lamenting the past, and you're nostalgic to a fault. And I know, I suffer from that. The summer will end, and it's my job to kind of load up the car before we leave our house on Long Island to drive back to Manhattan. And I'm in the driveway alone, and I have no reason to be sad. It's been a great summer. School starts, in a day or two, and I'm in the driveway, and I'm a little emotional over just the fact that a summer is ending.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about I could not have written this at 35. I couldn't have written it at 12. I think because I'm a little bit of everybody in the book. The mom definitely suffers from that. I suffer from it. There's a scene in the book where the mother is, when the two boys are, they're becoming, one is a teenager, the other one's becoming a teenager, and they have to box up their little kid stuff, basically their childhood, right? And she's in their bedroom, standing on a chair, taking something off the top shelf of their bureau, and she just starts crying, right? And then with this teddy bear, she sits down in between the two of them, crying hysterically. In the book, they don't know what to do when your mom is just crying, holding one of your teddy bears. And then she asks them, do you remember when you got this? They don't remember, so of course that makes her upset. That never happened in my life when I was a boy. When I was clearing out my son's room,
Oh, wow.
I didn't break down crying, but I definitely had a moment fuck, it's ending.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to curse on this?
Oh,
I
yeah,
realize I've been doing
absolutely.
it. Okay.
Yeah. We encourage it.
So, the kid in the book, it's me, it's my brother, it's some of my friends, it's a little bit of my kids. The mother in the book is a lot of my mom, but also a little bit of me, and the same thing with the old man.
The book begins and kind of it's bookended with the death of the mom's father, who was kind of a ne'er-do-well, but a lovable ne'er-do-well. And in some ways, him dying represents kind of the passing of the past, of the old generation. And I know every generation probably thinks they're special, but you're, Gen X, we're Gen X here, most of us. And it seems like there is something about this generation that has its memories of the really old times through our relatives, but also obviously lives in this age of phones and everything like that.
Yeah, I think I growing up in an Irish Catholic house, big Irish Catholic extended family, the kind of neighborhood I did, there was a lot of competition to be a storyteller, right? To hold court at the dinner table and tell the funniest story. And then as we got older, at weddings and funerals and bars, to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So that was a point of pride. I've joked around with my family, because, I come from a long generation of storytellers, but I'm the first one who figured out how to get paid for it, all right? So, and even in that opening scene at his grandfather's wake, that is that entire scene is complete fiction. I did not go to my grandfather was Pop McKenna. The guy in the book is Pop McSweeney. But everything about his history, my grandparents came from Ireland in the 30s. My mother's 2 older brothers were born in Ireland. She was born here in the Bronx, as was her younger brother. Her mother died shortly thereafter. So Pop McKenna, uneducated, no job, no wife, 4 kids under the age of 6, put the 4 of them in an orphanage, went back to Ireland to find a new wife. Couldn't find the new wife. My mom didn't give me the details of how long he was gone, but she did not like to talk about the orphanage. She was there for a while.
Oh, my word.
He finally comes back without a wife, gets the kids out of the orphanage. But, one of the stories in the book is, she adored her father, even though, you said he was a ne'er-do-well. He was like the happy singing drunk who, as my dad said, might periodically fall down the stairs, right?
But that's a better drunk than the alternative.
Which was my father's father, my grandfather, who was never happy and never sung or laughed, but he might throw you down the stairs. So to the point of like those, so growing up in a house like this, all of these stories have been retold so many times, right? To your point about the Gen X thing, and are we kind of connected to that? They told a lot of stories, and as a kid who kind of liked hearing stories, I then have retold them my whole life, and now versions of them have shown up in the book.
How do you do nostalgia without being sappy?
I don't know. Maybe there are moments in the book where it's sappy. I think instinctually you kind of know how not to be sappy, but I'm sure there's some people who might read it and be like, Burns is a freaking sap,
Well, part of it might be that it's the characters themselves who are being nostalgic, which lends a certain, I don't know what it lends, but it lends something.
My thing was I didn't care to be truthful, right? That wasn't, that wasn't my intent as far as the facts and the stories, and did it actually happen this way? Because do we remember the past the way it actually happened? And again, these are stories that have been retold so many times. And I should tell why the book morphed so differently from, originally I mentioned the 400 Blows and the Marlboro Road Gang. I really thought that summer I was going to write, basically, because Gen Xers, right? Our parents all worked, and in the summer, when you didn't have school, my parents left the house at 7:30. Me and my friends, we never saw another adult until 6:30 at night when it was time for dinner. Yeah. There's no summer camp or anything like that. We got on our bikes and figured shit out, know? And those were great summers.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's a movie in those great summers. My thinking was, all right, it's Stand By Me without the dead body. All right? So that's the book I start writing. But it's COVID. My parents are trapped in Florida. They can't get home till Long Island. So I'm talking to them every day on the phone. And after a week of, all right, so, what'd you guys watch on Netflix? What'd you make for dinner? I started, and my mom was not well. So I just started asking her to kind of cheer her up, a different question about her life. What do you remember about the day you graduated high school? What do you remember about taking the train with Pop McKenna, down from the Bronx into Manhattan? What do you remember on the day when my dad said he was going to take the cop test? And my mom, again, storyteller, once I would ask her these questions, I knew she could disappear for an hour, right? And she could just go off and tell me the stories and laugh and relive the past. So I'm writing the Marlboro Road Gang novel while talking to my mom, and based on what the book is about now, you can see my mother's stories start working themselves into the book. And at a certain point, it then becomes a love letter to my mom, to her experiences as a kid, to what it was like for all families like that. From Ireland, it came to America in the 30s, and then my dad's side came in the 1880s with no money, drunks, and trying to figure shit out. And within a generation, we did pretty good.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful.
You almost got me there. I felt a little bit emotional.
Can we talk a little bit about your films?
Yeah, sure.
Beginning of Brothers McMullen happens. There's this moment. It's if people remember, it's at a graveyard. The mom says, "I'm out of here. I'm going to find my back to Ireland where my true love was. I fucked up, and I have you, but I'm glad I have you. My sons. There's only one son there at the moment, but she warns them. She's like, don't settle for anything less than true love."
Yeah.
Do you start, and you mentioned asking questions of your mom. Do you start a project with a story, or do you start with a question?
Well, that's a good question.
Finally.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. I like no two stories or screenplays or the book really start from one place with me. It's kind of like, now on my phone, but it used to be notebooks. There's just like lists of good idea for a story, great idea for a scene. I'm trying to think. Like McMullen's a weird one. Like McMullen, there was no master plan other than I wanted to make a feature film because at that time in the early '90s, when I got out of film school, the first film I saw out of film school, one of the first films I saw out of film school in the theater was Reservoir Dogs. Right, 91. So, yeah, of course, like everyone else, I'm like out of film school, want to break into the business. So what do? You're right. You're first of 3 Reservoir Dog rip-off scripts. All right? And you send those out to Hollywood and try and get an agent, and nobody seemed interested in my version of his work. So after about 2 years or 3 years of that, you started to also see, I don't know if anybody remembers Hal Hartley from the 90s, but there was a lot of filmmakers. Nick Gomez made a great movie called Laws of Gravity. There were these movies that were being made for like $25,000, $35,000, going to film festivals, but then being picked up for distribution, playing in theaters, and then those filmmakers were getting $5 and $6 and $7 million to make their next film. Like that was the way to break into the business. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I just started to, more from a practical standpoint. I was like, if I'm going to make a movie for $25,000, I know I need to get every location for free. So I was like, all right, the house I grew up in. All right, we'll start with that.
That's the central house, right?
That's the house, right? My parents' house. And we literally shot every inch of that house, the backyard, the front stoop, the side stoop, the basement, the attic, everything. Then at the time I was a production assistant at New York satellite office of Entertainment Tonight. And that was like a news crew, like a 3-man crew. We would go out, but the office was on Columbus Circle across from Central Park. So a lot of times if we had an interview, we would go into Central Park. And I noticed, we never had permits to shoot there. Anywhere you pointed the camera, it looked beautiful. So I was like, okay, so I got a house, and then I will use every park in New York City where I know I could shoot for free, and I'll shoot during the day when I don't need to light it as a way to do it cheap. So if you rewatch the film, all those brothers, they never go on a date to a restaurant, a bar, or the movies. They're in a park talking about a meal they had or a movie they saw, So that's how I put that together. Then for the script, so then I was like, well, if I got the house, the other thing that was happening, speaking of Gen Xers, I can remember I never saw a film that I felt the guys my age sounded the way me and my friends spoke. So, and in film school, I was pretty good at writing dialogue. So I was just like, all right, I can't do the Tarantino thing. I'm just going to do guys bullshitting over beers. That was kind of the premise. And make it sound honest. And then from there, the story just kind of, took off. So no grand ambition other than how do you make a movie for $25,000. So.
And then the next film you get some more money for. And I want to ask just a particular question. So I don't know if you know this, but John Mahoney, a lot of people here are from Oak Park. It's right across the street. Yep. John Mahoney lived in Oak Park for years and years. Yep. I never just say, give me a story, but give me a John Mahoney story. He seemed like I interviewed him once, and he was the sweetest guy.
So after Brothers McMullen, we make that movie for no money. Goes to Sundance, wins, comes out in theaters, but you're still not convinced that you're a real filmmaker. I made a movie in 12 days over the course of 8 months in the house I grew up in. That didn't feel like the movie business. You know what I mean? So, and it's funny, the screenplay for She's the One, the second film, I've never written a script that quickly. It took me 2 weeks to write it because I was told by a producer that I met as we were getting, before we were taking McMullen to Sundance, 2 weeks out, he goes, "Do you have another screenplay?" I said no, because I knew I wasn't going to present one of the Tarantino ripoff scripts.
Sure.
He goes, "You need to have a script that, because during the 2 weeks you're at Sundance, you'll never be hotter than you are at that moment. You can get that script made. So just make sure you have something." So when we made McMullen, because I had spent a year prior to getting it into Sundance, sending it out to every distribution company, agent, manager, film festival, didn't get in anywhere for a solid year. And if we have time afterwards, I'll tell you the Sundance story, because it's a good story. But anyhow, I don't think we're going to sell McMullen. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to write a funnier version of Brothers McMullen, and I'll swap out the oldest brother for a dad.
Yeah.
Right? So I think McMullen will be the calling card. Can you make a movie like the She's the One script? Yes, here's McMullen. That was sort of how I was thinking, but then both happened. So to John Mahoney. So one of the, Fox Searchlight was the company that was making the second film. And, one of the first incoming phone calls when the script is done and we go out, before we get Jennifer Aniston and Cameron Diaz, it's just me and Mike Malone. John Mahoney's agents call and said he's read the script and he loved Brothers McMullen and he'd love to play the part. And again, I'm sort of like, are you kidding me? Like John Mahoney? Like really? Like John Mahoney wants to be in our movie? Doesn't he know I don't know what I'm doing? You know what I mean? I've got 12 days of experience directing, And then he was the absolute greatest, sweetest guy. I mean, really, again, there were days on set where I didn't know what I was doing, and John was able to be like that. He was the senior actor on set. So, he's like, "No, Eddie, it's cool. Don't worry. Maybe just try this or do that." And that was kind of it. He kind of was like a little bit of a mentor for me.
Speaking of, it reminds me, you have another book called Independent Ed, which traces your filmography and the work up to 2016
Yep.
or 2015 or so. And you talk about how when you were on Saving Private Ryan, watching Spielberg, you learned that you don't always have to be directing, that you have to know when to direct. But I don't want to ask that question.
Yeah.
I want to ask if you can tell the story about the first time you had to say lines in Saving Private Ryan. And Tom Hanks is next to you.
Yeah. All right, so again, this goes back to my lack of experience and my lack of competence, right? So I've only acted in 3 movies prior to Saving Private Ryan, and they're my films. So I've never spoken a line of dialogue that I didn't write. So we did boot camp on Private Ryan, which was great. So we all got very tight and loved Tom and was felt very comfortable hanging with Tom Hanks. On day 1, less comfortable acting opposite Tom Hanks. So it's a scene that I'm going to tell you why. I don't know if this is why it got cut out of the film, but I assume so. It's maybe the second scene we shoot in the film, and it's a walk and talk where me and Hanks are walking through a field and the rest of the guys are behind us. I can't remember what the dialogue was, but it wasn't much. I mean, it was 3 lines. And you're kind of there, and you've got the uniform on, I've got my BAR, and you look across, it's a long lens shot that 50 yards or 50 feet of track over there. And there's Steven Spielberg, and he says, "Action." And I'm just sort of it all just kind of hit me in that moment, what are you doing here? This is madness, all right? And then, on action, we start walking, and then I turn and I look, and it's Tom friggin' Hanks. And I try to speak, and I can just I can hear my voice is shaking and cracking. Let me hear, cut. All right, let's take it back to 1. 3 or 4 more takes of this, not being able to just get the words out without sounding like a kid reading in front of the nuns, back in the 6th grade. Tom then pulled me aside, and he was just like, Eddie, just chill out, man. Like, you got this. Like, I've seen your work. You can act. Forget about everything we're doing here. Like, just lock in and focus. And fortunately, we got through the day and through the scene, and then moving forward, I felt more comfortable. But when I did see the finished film, I did notice that scene was cut. So maybe I didn't chill out enough in time.
I want to just end with one last question, which is you're very, in this other book, Independent Ed, you're very blunt, and it's at the very beginning of the book, in fact, you say, I made these 2 movies, and then all of a sudden I was the hottest thing in Hollywood, and then all of a sudden I couldn't make a film. And yet, I don't know how many it is now, you've made 15, 16 films, 2 television shows, and what is so admirable, when I was just reading the book, it was like, you just want to make the movies, and you figured out 2 things, if I can. You figured out how to make movies on what you call micro budgets, or other people call micro budgets, but you also somehow were ahead of the distribution curve at many different steps of the way. Like, you had the first film that was released exclusively on iTunes, for example. So I just want to end it with how you've been able to just make a career doing what you want to do.
It's another story of my dad. When I was writing those early screenplays, and then after we made Brothers McMullen, I was sending it out, and I couldn't get in anywhere, and I was pissing and moaning about the state of the business, right, and complaining. And he says, look, I guarantee you there's someone else out there who's doing the same thing, and instead of complaining to his father, he's writing his next screenplay today. He's outworking you, all right? So, like, you just need to outwork everyone else. And that's been my thing. Like, I know I am not the most talented, but I know I am the most tireless. Like, I will outwork anyone. I write every day. I'll commit to the 5 hours of just grinding through bad scenes to get through the one good scene that ends up being in the film. And you do that just because, like, you love it, and I got lucky. Like, I love to sit down and write. Like, that's why, writing the book, I don't want to say it wasn't hard, because it was hard, but it was good hard work. And that's why, like, I'm almost done with the second book, so I see I see it as a trilogy.
Yeah.
So so
We
anyhow,
gotta come back for that one.
we gotta come back. No, this is great. I love this.
Will you sign books after?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right,
And then I'll take pictures. Also, if anybody has any other memorabilia, like when I was in Boston, there was 2 guys that had like World War II helmets.
Oh.
And signed those with quotes that I don't remember my character saying in Private Ryan. But I have to admit, I was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. I want one of those.
Ed Burns, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
All right. My next guest is the reigning Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest champion, men's division. He took home his first mustard belt after eating 59 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. That was 6 hot dogs and buns ahead of the next best competitive eater. It's not every day we have a world champion on the show. Please welcome Chicago's own Patrick Bertoletti. How are you? Oh my God. Woo. This is super heavy.
I know.
I'm gonna hurt tomorrow. All right.
Got it.
How are you? Congratulations.
Good. Airport security loves when I travel with that.
What do they do?
They're confused. Last time they asked me if I was a wrestler, I was like, yeah, we're just gonna go with it. It's easier than having to explain.
I wrestle hot dogs. Let's just get into the Nathan's on July 4th. What's the scene like? Was it everything you hoped for? Did you like the other competitors? Did you know that you had it in the bag? Just take us there.
Well,
Coney Island.
Yeah, Coney Island. I think I've done the hot dog eating contest 10 or 12 times. I got second place a few times, third place mostly. Yeah. So always a bridesmaid, never the bride, And I kind of knew Joey Chestnut wasn't going to be there this year, so.
Because he got banned, right?
Yeah, he had some contract issues, but I'm really good friends with him, so contract issues.
You're friends with Joey?
Eatings. Yeah.
Is he a good guy?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Oh, really? Because in the Netflix special, did you see the Netflix special?
I did, yeah.
It was Kobayashi or whatever. Like, he seems like he's not all smiles.
He's very serious.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Kobayashi still hates him, by the way. Yeah.
They seem to hate each other.
Yeah, Kobayashi hates Joey. I don't think Joey really cares, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about, I want to all right, let's just get into growing up. Like, a lot of, dads, they go out in the backyard, they throw the baseball around. Like, did your dad go out and, like, competitive eat with you?
No, but he could. He's actually here tonight. He ate. Watch your fingers in front of this guy. No, I mean, a throwback to the Irish stuff. I think the youngest of 5. You're always looking for attention, so I'm the youngest of 5. And
oh, wow.
I wasn't great at sports, and I always knew I could eat a lot, so that was kind of my way to differentiate myself. And I don't know that eating is a sport, but we'll just pretend for tonight.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Do you have the belt?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. What is there? Like, you see, I mean, you're not small, but you're also not big. And then Kobayashi's not big. Joey Chestnut's a little bigger. Like, what is there? Like what is it? What is going on?
A few screws loose, maybe.
Yeah. Other than that,
I mean, the best eaters start with a love of food, so that's just where it started. I love food. Joey loves food, and just have that above average appetite. Just growing up, not having to chew your food, and then the first event I did, I was so sick.
Oh, so
after.
you didn't chew your
I still don't have to chew my food. It's kind of
really.
It's a liability.
But you enjoy it.
I do enjoy it as well. Yeah.
You still taste it.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Like, if you went. If you went to, like, a really fancy...
Linea?
Yeah, Linea.
Yeah.
Would you chew your food?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, well, I'm also a chef, so.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It doesn't make sense.
No, nothing.
Not a lot.
Nothing
makes
about
sense.
this situation makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cool. Like, I mean, it's just like anything. You got to work at it. It's not like you show up and eat 59 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Like, you got to put in the training.
Yeah, this time around, it took, I think it was 6 months, and I ate like over 1,300 hot dogs practicing. So,
wow.
I still have acne that I thought I was done with acne, but it came back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not.
Do you like hot dogs?
I love hot dogs. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think this year 4th of July was on a Thursday, and I ate hot dogs Sunday after. So.
Really? Not competitively?
No, I just
had it.
Just for the love of the game, I guess. Yeah.
Were you surprised when you won, or?
I was. It still doesn't seem real because I did it for so long, and so I'm not used to stuff working out, like setting a goal and accomplishing it. So it still feels
Me neither, actually.
It still feels like the bottom's gonna drop out, but
yeah,
I just feel blessed, and it's like I still it was always Joey's thing, and he's wasn't there, and it's not my
he's done. Joey's done. Don't sweat Joey. He's done.
You're from Boston. You probably put ketchup on your hot dog, right?
Not anymore.
Or you're not going to admit to it here. Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No, I tell you, you know what? This is embarrassing. But when I was growing up, I didn't put anything on my hot dogs. I was a very fussy eater, so I wouldn't put anything on it. But now I'm all in on the Chicago dog. I think it's one of the most beautiful things in the world. Did you watch the Nathan's Lemonade chugging contest?
I did.
Did you see that kid who puked for like 3 minutes afterwards?
Yeah. We weren't sure if he did it on purpose, but I guess it was really hot that day, and he wasn't feeling good. And then I guess he just wanted to make
it was July 4th.
It was, yeah. And he's just like, I wanted to give the crowd a show. And then I think the more they cheered, the more it encouraged him. And he didn't even drink that much lemonade. I don't know where all it kept coming out of him, That was like the most impressive
Chicago
part.
Humanities partnership right here.
Yeah.
Patrick Bertoletti. My final guest is, I saw her perform not too long ago at the Hideout, which is the show's other home. And I had such a wonderful time. Her most recent studio album is here. It's called Wherever You Aren't. She also has a new 7-inch out. I think they're pressing it right now, but you can order it on Bandcamp. Please welcome Elizabeth Moen.
All right. This song I actually just released. It's on that 7-inch that was mentioned earlier. It's called Purple Flowers. Has anyone here ever been to the Rainbow? The song is about the first time I went to the Rainbow. And I walked in and was like struck, just like shocked by just how cute I thought everybody was. And so I left. I didn't say a word and I left. But that's what this song is about. It's also about those pretty little flowers in the medians here in like the big streets. Trapped in the media, swaying as the city bus buzzes by. In my head I'm with slow motion kissing, walking in the dark, wishing life's beginning to end. Middle of the night and tapping on the fences. In my head I'm with slow motion kicking, purple flowers dancing in my pockets. I don't know you, but I so quiet. I'm not talking to you, but when I do, I'll say something when I see you again. Purple flowers outside the rainbow. Oh, it's Sunday, the pleasure is buzzing ahead in my head with slow motion dancing, coupled up with lovers singing. Show's beginning to end. The living room boots, tapping to the music. In my head with slow motion kissing. Turn around and you're in my ear listening. I don't know you, but I want to. Oh, sometimes I get so quiet. I'm not talking to you, but when I do, I'll say something when I see you again. Again, 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 again. How you doing tonight? How you doing tonight? How you doing tonight? How you doing tonight? Take the simple small talk. Tell me something real about you. For every secret that you've got, pretty sure I have one, two. Well, I wanted to, baby, I wanted you. Purple flowers in my pockets. Purple flowers in my pockets. Thank you. Thank you so much to Gus, Wes, and Tristan, my amazing bandmates. Thank you to Mike on sound. Thank you to my amazing manager, Georgia, for being here with us tonight. Yeah, this is a GDB, a goddamn blast. Goodbye.
Elizabeth Moen. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you.
That was The Interview Show with Mark Bazer, featuring Edward Burns, Patrick Bertoletti, and Elizabeth Moen, recorded live at Fitzgerald's in Berwyn, Illinois. For links to Edward Burns's A Kid from Marlboro Road, Patrick Bertoletti's Instagram, and Elizabeth Moen's music, head to the show notes or chicagohumanities.org. Chicago Humanities Tapes is produced and hosted by me, Elisa Rosenthal, with help from the team at Chicago Humanities who are producing these live events and making them sound fantastic. Shout out to the staff at Fitzgerald's for their hard work on tonight's episode. We always appreciate you spending your time with us, and if you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button so you'll be the first to know about new episodes. Leave a rating and a review, and share your favorite program with your favorite people. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode for you. But in the meantime, stay human.